In this video, we'll learn about Python values and expressions. In order to design the interesting and personalized data analysis program at the end of the course, we need to start by learning the basics. As you watch this video and all the videos, I encourage you to work along with the video. Write the code, then run the code so you can see what happens. Pause the video whenever you like, and if you think of something you want to try, go ahead and try it. The best way to answer the question, I wonder what would happen if I tried this, is to type it in and run it and see. You may get an error, but that's not a bad thing. It can help you learn about why the code didn't do what you expected it would do, and then you can try again. We'll start with values. We're going to see a number of different kinds of values in this Intro to Python module, and we'll start with numbers. Python distinguishes between whole numbers like 5 or -10 or 1000, which are integers, from numbers like 3.1 or -9.5, which are non-integers. Numbers like 3.1 or -9.5 are called floats in Python. We can type a number in a Jupyter cell, run the cell, and see the result of evaluating the last, and in this case only, line in the program. So let me try that. I have one value, which is the integer number 5 in this cell. I'll run it, and I see that the output is 5. So what happened is Jupyter ran this one line. As you would expect, the number 5, the value 5, evaluated to 5, and that's the output that we got. This is obviously not the most interesting program. We will use these basic building blocks to build up to much more interesting programs as we go. Strings are another example of values in Python. A string is a group of characters enclosed by quotation marks, such as computer programming or design. Here I've enclosed my strings in double quotes. We can also use single quotes. So there's the string computers. Whether you use double quotes or single quotes, they all evaluate to the same thing. Each of those is a string value. Now that I have these three strings in the cell, I want you to predict what will happen when I run this cell. Remember that Jupyter will evaluate each of these lines of code, where each line contains one value, and then it will display the output of the last line. So think about what you expect the output to be. And as you may have predicted, the output is computers. That is the value that the last line evaluates to. As so far we're just working with values, there's not much evaluation to do, right? The value is itself already a value. In the rest of this video, as we start to learn about expressions, we'll see how we have expressions that need to be evaluated until they are a single value. All values are themselves expressions. A Python expression represents something like a number or a string. And we can also create expressions by using arithmetic, such as 2 plus 3. So if I run this code, as you might have expected, it will evaluate that line, 2 plus 3. That evaluates to the value 5, which is then displayed as the output. We can also use string operations, such as the plus operation. We can see that if the input we give to a plus operator is numbers, it completes an addition. But if the input we give to a plus operator is strings, then the operation works as a concatenation, or it appends the two strings together. So here I have welcome to, and then the plus operator, this course. Because both of the inputs are strings, if I run this code, it will concatenate or append those two strings together. What would happen if I tried to add a number and a string using the plus operator? That's an interesting question, and let's see what happens. So why don't we see what might happen if we try to add a word and a number? So what if I try to add the plus 2? That doesn't really make sense, but let's just run it and see what happens. So here we see that we get a type error. So that is telling us, it says can only concatenate string, not what could be potentially an integer represented as a string, and a string. So that's telling us that the plus operation does not work when the inputs are a string and a number. You can see more examples of operations that operate or take strings and numbers in the language module. As with arithmetic, it's important to understand the order in which expressions will be evaluated. Understanding the way in which your program is evaluated will become more and more useful as your programs become more complex. The order of operations is probably what you'd expect for arithmetic. In general, expressions are evaluated from left to right, with brackets, exponents, multiplication, division, and addition/subtraction given precedence in that order. For example, 2 plus 3 times 5 first evaluates 3 times 5 and gets the value 15, and then evaluates the addition to get 17. So if I run this code, we expect to see the value 17. Try writing some compound expressions, which are expressions that are built up using more than one operator. Try writing some compound expressions and predicting the result before you run your code.